Good evening and welcome to I Trained You's podcast on skill development, family development, and everything else in between. I'm Coach Brandon, and I'm here to help everybody to learn what is it all about to go from where you are as a basketball player to where you want to be. There's so many of us that are out here playing this game that we love so much, but we don't really get exactly what we want out of the game. And a lot of it has to do with we just are given the wrong instructions by the wrong people. We don't have enough time to be able to really dedicate ourselves to development. And so what ends up happening is we end up in this conundrum of confusion. And so our job here on the podcast is to bring on some subject matter experts that are out here making a difference in the lives of the community, and now also helping you to get to know who they are. Because when you get to know who a coach is, who a trainer is, somebody that's going to be impacting your son or daughter's life, or if you're older and you're making a decision about a coach or a trainer to help you, there's things you want to get to know about that person before you pull the trigger. So the I Trained You podcast gives you an opportunity to actually get to know who we are, why we are, and how we're making a difference in lives of kids now and actual former players, and how we can make a difference in your life. So just tune in. We're just going to take about 45 minutes to an hour. We have a superstar coach on. I'm actually learning a lot from him just by his presence, and that's Coach Kissal. But we also have, of course, Coach Brad Pinchback, who's going to be joining us hopefully shortly. He's been in injury-prone situations and all the rest of the stuff. I'm sure that's because he's been shooting 1,000 jump shots every day. And we have Coach Nysear Byrd with us as usual. And Coach actually helps me to really dive in deep and help our kids get to that whole idea of where they are to where they want to be. And so with that said, we go over the creed. Our creed is three things. Number one, become a subject matter expert. Number two, become the best version of yourself. And number three, surround yourself with people who inspire you. As a former All-American, I needed this creed in order for me to get to the next levels, because if you slip, there will be somebody else that takes your spot. And being a competitor means that you accept the responsibilities that go along with how you behave on a daily basis, because how you behave on the basketball court is how you behave in the game of life. So that's what this is all about, is helping us really to dive in and understand a little bit more about development. So we're going to bring on Coach Nysear Byrd. Coach, how you doing, buddy? Well, we can't hear you. I mean, if you want to bring a sign person on, you can, but we really need you there. All right.
That's my bad. How you doing?
I'm doing great, buddy. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Well, before we bring on Coach Brad, we had our first day of basketball practice, man. You were pumped.
Yeah, I'm happy for it to be back.
Why are you so happy?
Some good things that's gonna be going on.
Well, let me tell you something. This is actually my first time being a head coach of a high school. And I said I never wanted to do it, but the opportunity to have my sons see that their father was a head coach of a basketball program really meant a lot to me. So I'm really super honored to have the opportunity to work with you and, Wayne. And, Wayne, for anybody that doesn't know, Wayne Clark is a former Harlem Globetrotter who's actually one of the greatest athletes. He had like a 49.5-inch vertical. And that was when he woke up. Just waking up is just that dude can jump. Did you see him dunk in the game with the Harlem Globetrotter led? Did you see him?
Yeah.
I mean, how easy was that?
It was easy.
It was easy. So, Coach, before we actually dive in, because we're going to bring Brad on, tell everybody why, for you, have you kind of decided to hang your shingle as a not only learning the I Trained You skill development side, but also learn the I Trained You coaching method of team coaching. Can you talk a little bit about that? What has been your journey?
I mean, to me, the I Train You model is like a science. And, growing up, I got a strong math background, strong science background. So when I can hear the way that you're applying, skills, and how to attack, and you got different names for different things. It it started to click for me in a different way.
You know, one of the big things I feel like is a lot of trainers are out here, and I'm not saying that they're fake or whatever else. I'm not here to judge anybody. But what I am here to say is that when you have a curriculum and you have a program that is defined and you can really articulate that curriculum to families, it makes an impact. And even with today in practice, you know, I felt bad for those kids because they're my kids now, right? But at the end of the day, when I look at the way they dribble, the way they make layups, I recognize there's just so many gaps in there because coaching, and I'm about to bring Coach Brad on. Coaching is something a little bit different than training, and I said it today, right? So my job is to manage as a coach the skill sets and the personalities of the players, get them working together as team. And we use the game as a test to really see what we need to work on individually in terms of our skills and also as a team. And so a lot of these kids who have been starving for basketball knowledge don't get the opportunity to have a coach slash trainer who can kind of help them with both. And so that's what excites me because I think that, you know, even I got a text from one of them after about how excited he was for this experience because I said to him, like, nobody's ever taught you this stuff before.
Right.
And so I just find it to be, you know, really heartwarming that, you know, these kids have an opportunity to be on a journey of education, not just I'm playing on the team. So anyway, so that was great. We're about to bring on Coach Brad. Coach Brad's about to teach us a thing or two. What's going on, buddy?
Hey, I'm ready.
You ready? How's your back
You
doing?
know I'm ready. What's going on?
How's your back?
My back is much better. A full day of training with no ibuprofen. We're good.
Okay. Hopefully you're not using that stuff that Arnold Schwarzenegger was using to keep
Oh no, we don't do all that.
You don't do all that?
We do not do all that.
I'm just making sure.
But I heard what you guys were talking about, and yeah, let's dig in.
Yeah. Oh no, it's going to be good because our special guest today, like every week that we're able to have a special guest come on, like it's rare. I respect, and I'll get deeper into like my level of respect because he has no idea what's about to happen. You know, with me in our conversation with him today. But it's beautiful that number one, he wants to come on our show, make an impact, and hopefully share with his community what he's doing, you know, to make an impact in these players. And I've heard so many wonderful things about this coach. And it's put it in a situation, and I'm just going to put it out there, like it'd be a dream for my kids to play for him. It'd be a dream. And I don't know if my kids would get that lucky because they have a long ways to go. But to know and my kids to be able to watch this here and understand that their father respects this gentleman so much that I hope that it makes them want to work harder to hope to get to a point where they can play for him. So without further ado, guys, we're going to bring Coach DJ Kissal on, who is the coach at Good Counsel High School, and I misspelled his name in the credits, and I'm going to change that. Coach, I'm going to change that for you, man.
Okay.
I hope
First of all, can I speak to this man right here?
Yeah.
What's going on, old timer? What's up, Brad?
I am definitely an old timer, Coach.
Long time.
Good to see you. That's a long time, no doubt.
One of the best right there.
That's a great thing. That's a great thing. So, Coach, let me just tell you something. You know, what you don't realize is that, you know, my relationship with your school goes back to 1984. Okay. And I was a freshman, and we had a chance I was on the freshman team at St. John's. And I remember how incredibly hyped we got to play you guys. And you guys were so good. You guys were so well coached. And it was like we knew that we had to have our game face on, because if not, you guys were going to put it on us. And it seems like for years, you guys have been making the impact in the lives of these kids. One of my dear friends, Clay Day, who I know you know, he played for you guys. And just, how he talks about good counsel. Nee Richards, I don't know if you know Nee. Nee is a
Teammates.
Y'all were teammates?
Oh,
Yep.
that's right. You did.
1991.
Yeah.
Really?
It's an athletic dude right there.
That's an athlete. He's still athletic. He came up today and I said,
Yep.
man, I got a 6-foot fence. I said, something fell on the other side. He said, no problem. I'll just jump over there and get it.
Stop it. This dude. That guy used to catch lobs for breakfast.
I'm not surprised.
Oh, man.
We became great friends, during his journey as a professional player, and we would play together. And I just was impressed. His poise, his balance, his professionalism, understanding his body and what his skill set was and how to use it. It was just different. Do you think that he developed that at Good Counsel?
That's a great question. Did he? I think he developed it in his time at Good Counsel, for sure. And keep in mind, like, the lens that I have on Nee is as a student, as a student athlete, as a friend, and as a teammate, right? So my mindset at that time was probably not as keen as it is now as the head coach and coaching for 29 years, right?
Yeah.
So what always impressed me about Nee as a teammate was his demeanor. He was a dude that you wouldn't be able to tell if he was having a great game or a terrible game, because he was just ice cold the whole time.
No, I see it.
And so to me, that was so impressive to me, is that ability to ride, and we all on here know what the roller coaster's like throughout a game, throughout a season, right? This game, part of what we love is the peaks and valleys that we experience throughout a season, throughout a game, right?
That's right.
It's a roller coaster, it's a ride. And Nee's ability to stay grounded throughout the peaks and valleys always stood out to me. I was always impressed with that because I'm an emotional guy. I'm a guy that thrives on energy. Obviously, as you get older, you mature and you adjust kind of the type of energy that you present to your players. But at that time, I was a feistier guy, so I was always impressed with Nee. Was always so unflappable, and so I thought that was something that I felt. You put that together with his talent and his mindset, it paved a path for him to future success.
I want to talk a little bit about what you're saying about Nee, and I'm sure he's going to love talking to me tomorrow that he was a topic of this conversation. But is that something that you can teach? Is that something you'd like all of your players to have, that type of demeanor? Like, is that something that's coachable that you can bring out, or do you want kids to have that?
Well, there are some kids that have it as it's in them, right? So some kids it's there. I do believe that the ability to minimize your peaks and valleys is something that can be counseled, right? It's something you can counsel your players to do, is to kind of get on to, what's the proverbial statement we as coaches say? All right, next play, right? That one's over. We can't fix that one. But if your head's not right, this next one's in jeopardy.
Yeah.
Right? You understand what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I do believe that it's something that we teach. We, and this is, there's so many ways to describe it, right? Some people call it mental toughness.
Mm-hmm.
Some people call it, being stoic or not letting the emotions of the game get them. It's just that ability to focus in, to lock in, minimize all the noise, all the experience on the outside of it, and be present in that moment. And so that is something that I feel like, I don't know if the right word is teach it, Brandon, but I do believe that it's like advising and counseling your players that maybe there's a better approach if they're really an emotional kid, right?
Yeah.
Kind of just show them. I have one kid right now that I'm really high on, and the kid has moments of like incredible motor and effort and just winning plays, diving on the floor, big rebound, great pass, big shot, all that stuff. But he gets very frustrated with himself when it's not clicking.
Yeah.
I had to pull him aside during a workout and put my arm around him, and I'm like, hey, man, do you think you perform better when you get in this downward spiral
Right.
of frustrated with yourself? And he was like, I don't. And I said, so why are you doing this to yourself? Stop beating yourself up.
That's right.
And get on to the next play, because you have the same chance with this next play that you had the last play that you were upset with yourself about.
That's right. So Coach, like, let's dive into that a little bit more. Nysear, we saw some really good players the other day at the playoff game, right? And in the game before. And you're talking about middle school basketball. How many of these superstar great athletes, great kids, end up really staying great? It's like you have this kid that's super precocious at the 7th grade level, but then by the time you get to, and everybody knows who they are, but by 10th and 11th grade, nobody now knows who they are.
Yeah.
Like, what is it that's missing? And I'm going to ask you first, Nysear, and then Brad, I want you to follow up and then bring us home, GJ.
Okay.
But what is it that happens between that 7th grade and that 11th grade where that kid loses their advantage? What happens, Nysear? What are your thoughts?
I think it's a series of things. One could be that their athleticism and size isn't dominant over other kids.
Mm-hmm.
Another could be that they really didn't have that much skill, and other players caught up to them, so they didn't really have a trainer or anything. Another could be game overload. So, like, I think it is a such thing as too many games.
Yeah.
And a lot of these kids are young playing AAU.
So you're saying they're getting negative reps by playing all of those games, and they're not able to continue the translation of the skill development. Okay. Brad, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts on that are, all right, if you're speaking about it from an AAU standpoint, how much you've got some really good teams and really talented teams right in this area. How much real development is done on those programs? Like, if you're coaching with a sneaker sponsor program and a guy isn't performing the way you would like him to perform, you're just going to recruit over him for the next season.
Yeah.
Because you have to win to keep that type of sponsorship. You have to win. So, you can't look at AAU is about exposure. It's not about development. development has to come from somewhere else.
So
That's my take on that.
And I think that's a great take, because when I was coaching at Takeover, there was a disconnect, and I need to apologize to Takeover, because my attitude, I didn't really understand like the importance of exposure and, you know, trying to get these kids in college. I'm like, hey, we can really help, you know, with the left hand, with the right hand, and these particular moves. And so, although they wanted development, a big part of it is these kids also need to win, because these colleges want to know that kids know how to win. And really get that at the time. And I'm like, well, we could lose. And if so and so now all of a sudden has a better understanding, and so it's kind of like, just like you said, like that's sort of not where the development needs to take place, because that exposure has to be tight. So thank you for that. And my apologies.
No, it's definitely about exposure. Like I say, your development has to come from another place. But you look at high school season, then you look at AAU season, and you know, for some kids, it's tough to carve out a month where they can just really, really focus on just getting better.
And if you take a look at like the WNBA players, I'll never forget, you know, Kyla leaving from college to the WNBA. I mean, it was almost like you can't finish your senior year. So where does that transition of development from college to the pro and to get ready for that? There's not much. And then at the end of the season for the WNBA, you then go directly overseas. So it's constantly, and you got to win in all situations. So, you know, God bless you if you don't have a left hand, you got to finish with your right hand. And that's just how it is. But Coach DJ, talk to us, you know, tell us what you're seeing with these kids that are super precocious at an early age, and then all of a sudden, you know, their stock drops, and it's like, wow, what happened? What do you think?
So my first thought, I you know, it's such a great question. And I don't think there's a cookie cutter answer. I think that number one thought, you know, is every child needs to run their own race, right? It's a big buzz statement these days, and what I mean when I say that is simply that you know, every kid's time, we don't know when everybody's time is. So the kid that's the best player in fourth grade and sixth grade may not be the best player in 11th grade, like you said.
Right.
I've seen it, you know, with my own son. I've seen it with him, and his ability to be around kids that were so advanced at a young age, and the number one player in the country as a 7-year-old, 8-year-old on whatever list, and now the kid's not. He's not there. Did he fall out of love with the game? That happens. Was it too much? That happens. Coach Nysear kind of referenced like that overload. I also think that a lot of times at the younger ages, the physical gap is much greater, right? So I'm kind of philosophically in a place where I'm conflicted about recruiting kids that are very advanced athletically at a young age. And I'm going to share with you why. I have seen scenarios where kids that are super athletic and advanced in the course of a game can correct their mistakes. Let's say they take a bad shot or they make a bad decision, they can correct it by the sheer physical will.
Yeah.
I take a bad shot, I go get it off the glass, I finish the play, coach is not mad at me, right? So when you're in 6th grade and you're the best athlete on the floor, you can correct your mistakes. But as Coach Nysear said, at some point, that physical gap gets narrowed.
Closes.
And sometimes guys get passed.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
then you need to rely on your IQ and your skill. And if you're a guy that is an athlete first, did you put the time and effort into developing your feel for the game, your understanding of good shot, bad shot, defensive positioning, whatever concept we're talking about? And did you put the skill work in? Did you work on getting to your left and finishing with your left? Because you can get to your right every time. It's hard
Yep.
to tell a kid that's in 6th grade, man, we really got to work on your left, because when he's in the game, I get to my right and I score every time.
Right.
So, coach, what are you saying? And so I think that it's really the race isn't over until it's over, right? I personally right now have a late blooming son, and Brandon, we talked a little bit about it on the phone the other day, and just watching his journey and how it kind of he accelerates at times, and then he plateaus, and then he accelerates and he plateaus. So I just think that for me, we try to target kids that we believe have a good feel for the game, good skill package, right appropriate mindset with the hunger to work and get better. And then we work on all that stuff and let the physical component be the icing on the cake at the end.
Coach, talk a little bit about, um, the role of trainers in your coaching paradigm. How do they play into your life?
So it's necessary nowadays, right? It's so with the rigor of the schedule and practice times, and in this area, it's commonplace, to where, if you want, so we're in the DMV, right? And the DMV is, those of us feel it's the mecca of high school basketball, really.
Yeah.
So to me, if you're not doing that stuff, you're getting left in the dust. You're getting left behind. So we have kids that train regularly when we're not in the gym. And you have to. You have to. Because that, when you get in a team situation, right? Brad, you referenced it. Like we got to work on team-based stuff to
Yes.
compete at our level. So if we build a block of skill development into every practice, but that's not the same as going to get an hour and a half, or 2 hours specifically designed to work on Brandon or Brad or Nysear's weakness. We just don't have the ability to do that. So I think it's necessary if you want to compete at our level or the higher levels. It's just
So,
necessary.
so I do agree with you, and I told my players today. I said, listen, like, the game is a test, right? And practice is you're in class. but you got to work on your homework. And that's when we're not together. And
Yes.
that's where you go out and you're doing things on your own, and you may have somebody guide you through, which would be like a tutor. And I agree with you. You can't excel if you're not going to put in 2 hours a day like all the great kids are still able to do. They might, you might have practice at 4 to 6, but then that kid is in the gym from 5 to 7 in the morning, really getting up those shots and doing all the rest of the things that are necessary. And that gets their timing, their rhythm, all that gets, refined. It gets sharp. They have more critical awareness skills. So they become ahead of the curve. And so, Coach, how do you choose, or how do you help families choose who works with your players?
I'm a relationship guy. So I personally have, thoughts, but I also trust parents' instincts, right? So I encourage them to observe, and every kid has a different vibe with a different person, right? So, like, if the one person that might be a great trainer for me may not be the best fit for you. So I like to present options and then let them make their choice accordingly, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Brad,
Yeah.
as a
Mhm.
trainer, because you're not, the three of us are actually coaching teams. You're not coaching a team right now.
That's
So,
correct.
how do you impart on the coaches that you're actually in a relationship with them? Because GJ, that's what you're really saying. Also, you want a relationship with that trainer so that there's an open line of communication to really help. Because, obviously, if a trainer tells a kid, you come down the floor, when you get that ball across half court, you got to let it go. You got to be Steph Curry out there, like it in if dude is 7 feet tall and that's not where you're playing them. So you guys have got to make sure that everybody's on the same page. So Brad, how do you work at making sure that you have the relationship so that the coach knows that you kind of are on the same page with that kid?
Honestly, Brandon, I think I have every high school coach, private or public school in Montgomery County or surrounding areas' cell phone numbers.
Got it.
And I actually call them and say, hey, what do you want this kid to be able to do better so that he can be a better player within your structure? A lot of these kids want to play outside the structure. Okay, you got maybe one guy that gets to do that. Two if you're lucky. But everybody else needs to be able to play well within the structure. So, if you're not, I feel like as a trainer, if you're not communicating with coaches, what are we doing? Like, we're just putting our own, I guess, spin on what this guy's supposed to be, but if that's not how the coach is seeing it, you have to be on the same page. Coaching a high school basketball team and training a high school basketball player, there's got to be a connection there, or it's a lot of wasted reps, wasted work. You can streamline that, to get the guy better and possibly, make him even better for how he's going to be utilized in that particular coach's system. We also talk regularly. Also talk earlier about players getting ranked and all this other stuff. I think Coach GJ, you mentioned somebody getting ranked at 8 years old. You know the first person that came to mind for me is Babatunde Oladapo. And, you know, he's come in off and on with me since he was 8 years old.
And
Yeah.
Baba, I mean, Baba has sustained his status because he's in the gym.
Yeah.
Baba
He's
wasn't
in the
ranked as
gym and he also grew. That helped too, but it also helped that his dad, I feel like it helped him that his dad put him on the ball at an early age. Like a lot of people don't know, his dad has his own little, you know, AAU organization.
right.
And
The Road
Baba
Runner,
used to play,
ICC.
yeah, ICC runners. And Baba used to play for, you know, the teams his age and the teams 4 years older than his age. I mean, Baba used to play, and I used to see him playing all the time, you know. So, I mean, his development, especially for his size, was accelerated. Like, you know, Ibrahim, his dad is a friend of mine. And I said, Ibrahim, what is his schedule like when he doesn't have school? And he told me,
Gym to gym.
yes, you're at the Aspen Hill Club. You go all the way across town, Keith Williams, and you come back to Montgomery County. That's me. And then you're back to the Aspen Hill Club. And I mean, you know, Baba works out with a lot of guys. It's not just us. You know, I think he had Joel Barker. I'm not that familiar with him, but you know, Mike Creppy, who, you know, I worked with Mike when, you know, before Mike was a pro and while Mike was a pro. You know, tough, tough player. He really came up. He was a good counsel guy, by the way.
He sure was.
And speaking of your guys, you know, I got familiar with good counsel. Well, I was familiar with it as a player. Like, I played football and basketball in the WCA. Well, it was a Metro Conference then. You guys know I'm old. But so I have familiarity with, you know, with WCAC, what's called the WCAC now. You know, when Roger, like, I got to work with Earl Hunt, Kevin Rogas, a lot of the good counsel kids that were there during that era were the kids that I worked with. Because they were still in Wheaton at the time. Good counsel was still in Wheaton at the time.
So, you know, this is interesting because I want to bring up a player, and we don't bash players at all. But I want to bring up a player that had major hype, and I want to know what your guys' thoughts are for why it didn't translate to the next level, and that's Amani Bates. You all right?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good. Right. I think that I had that reaction because I think that's a great question.
So Amani, who, you know, was viewed upon, and I actually had, you know, I watched him in the summer league this past summer. I think was it this past summer this year we were watching him? Yeah, and I was in shock because this kid was super talented. He was, who's the 7'4" guy that's in the league now? Chet Holmgren. They were like neck and neck and all. And then he was supposed to be the next Kevin Durant. And the reason why I'm reminded of that is because you know, one of the Power 5 schools is a good friend of mine. The assistant coach was asking me about Baba and said that he could be better than Kevin Durant out of this area. And he's got a long ways to go, but he's like the kid that could get there. But then it reminded me of, you know, people making comparisons to Amani Bates. What happened to him?
You know, the easy answer is that Amani Bates does not have a pro body. That's the easy answer.
But
Like,
did Chet have a pro body? Does Wemby have a pro body?
That's a good question. Maybe in today's NBA, they all have pro bodies. But you look at Monty Bates, I think his skill set is nice, man, from what I've seen. You know, it's tough because KD had to go get it with him, man. Like he was highly skilled. And last time I saw KD listed, KD was up to like 230, 240.
Mm-hmm.
Now I get it. He's taller than he's listed. So we're probably talking about 6'11", 240, not 6'9", 240.
Sure.
All right. So, but still, I mean, at the end of the day, I don't like that comparison. I don't even like that comparison for Baba, even though Baba's style of play is a lot like KD's. To me, his style of play is more like KD's than even like a guy like Imani Bates.
So, here's one of the things. Coach Vetter was my high school coach at Flint. Was also Kevin Durant's coach at Montrose Christian. And just diving into this, Kevin Durant is a really intelligent, without all the social media stuff, but he's a really intelligent guy, and he can make reads out on the basketball court, and he understands his body. I think that the biggest challenge for tall athletes is understanding how they fit in space physically and how they're able to balance themselves on the court, because what happens is you end up, if you can't get by anybody and have balance, you end up being a jump shooter. And that's really, what happened. Then if you're off, you're off. But Kevin gets to the basket and he finds his finish. So I think that that's something that all of us as coaches, as trainers working with these kids and helping these parents understand is that you want to be around people that are talking about how to read the game and give you rules so that those rules are actually some formulas for success. Before we go into this next segment, guys, Coach, we actually like to do some game watching at the very end of the show, and we'd like you to stay on for that game watching and give like your insight to how you would coach or what you would talk to your players about and we're going to break down Luka. But before, a very good friend of mine, a teammate of mine, and just an incredible human being passed away last week. And so I would like to just have a moment of silence for Art Modalities, who impacted my life since 1983 when we first played against each other. And then we had the pleasure of playing with each other on youth games. And we had the pleasure of playing with each other in AAU. And we've been friends through the years. And when my mother passed, he made it a point to reach out and contact me and have kind words to say. And 2024 has been tough for me with the loss of my mom. And it's now been exacerbated by the loss of a great friend. And so I just would like us for just 10 seconds to have a moment of silence and just think about our reflection of life and the life that Gerard had with us. God bless you, Gerard. I know that my mother is watching you play up in heaven. So thank you, guys. I needed to do that, and I know you guys all know Gerard. So
Great one.
You said what?
He was a great one.
Yeah.
No
Strong
doubt.
man.
No doubt.
So what I like to do in this part of the segment is, you guys ready? Nysear, Brad, you ready to jump on and let's check out some Luka stuff?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
All right, hold on. Let's see what we got here. All right, guys. So we're going to jump in. We're going to dive in. We've got now about 10 minutes or so. So let's check out Luka. Let's see what he's doing. Let's see what he's reading. Let's talk about it, and let's grow this game for our community and help them to understand. So, Nysear, I'm going to let you go first. Let's talk a little bit about what you think Luka is working with right now.
All right. The first thing he got is a triangle, but it drew a double team, so he's going to pass to his teammate that's in the high post.
All right. Now, what I love is the fact that his teammate knew to give him the ball back.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so Coach DJ, one of the things that we say is that, you know, your most dynamic player, the ball has got to go through them, or at least it seems to be in this pro game. Your best player doesn't go possessions and not touch the ball. I assume it's that way at Good Counsel too. Is that right?
Sure. For sure.
So as he's being dynamic and going into his plays, I just feel like, and Brad, what are you thinking? Is he a passer? Is he just a scorer? Like, what do you see him doing? He knows the ball is coming right back to him again. I mean, that's not the shot we want him taking, but
That's
the idea is that it's almost like
Good make, bad shot.
right. You're not surprised that he made that shot.
It's good make. Kid hits a shot like that, you're like, all right, good make, but that's not the shot we want, but
Right.
I'm taking it.
Let's not do it twice. So that's the shot clock winding down. But notice here, what is he doing here that I like? What he's doing here that I like is the fact that he's in this axe triple threat, which is what we call it, where the ball is on the left side hip, but his shoulders are low. And what we teach, Coach DJ, is that you want your shoulders below the defense if possible. And if they sit lower, eventually they'll get to a point where they're too low in their base center of gravity. And so they're not going to be able to respond as quickly. And what I see here is that he's setting up his defender so he can keep his shoulders low. So he's coming off on this side. And I believe this is exactly what he wants. I mean, what are your thoughts, Nysear? I mean, if you have your player like this, what are you telling him?
You said, what am I telling this player?
Yeah, what are you telling Luka in this situation here?
Attack.
Go at him.
Go ahead,
sir.
So what I would say also, wouldn't you want the who's that that switched off on him? That who's guarding their big man?
J. McDaniel, somebody.
Right. I want their big man to get out of there so that they can't switch back, because this is Rudy that's guarding him, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, doesn't it seem like Rudy always gets caught in a spin cycle? Always.
Every time he's up in front of Luka.
So what I see here, guys, is he understands the setup, and he's reading, although it's easy to get below his shoulders, he's reading to attack this top foot. And he's purposely getting him to swing his top foot back. Now he's getting ready to attack the next top foot. And what he's able to read, and Coach GJ, what we teach is that you have to be aware when the defense actually converts to the run defense. Because if the defense converts to the run defense right there, you can't block a shot if your body is twisted up like a pretzel.
Yep.
So he's at the most unathletic that he could possibly be. So in his recovery, he can't even be his best athletic self.
Right.
And I believe Luka knows that. I mean, I obviously
There's no doubt.
here.
His pace, Coach Brandon, his pace.
That's right.
It's like he's setting you up right off the start. He's setting you up. He's using his pace to get you to play his speed.
We had a kid. I'm going to jump in here.
Yeah, please.
So we had a kid when I was an assistant at Catholic University.
Mm-hmm.
I was there from 2000 to 2002. And in 2001, we won the Division III National Championship. And we had a kid, our best player, All-American by the name of Pat Maloney.
Mm.
And Pat was a 6'2", 200-pound Irish Catholic kid from Jersey Shore. So you can construct, your vision of this kind of heavy set kid that loved to hit go down to the spots after the game and all that. And he was not athletic. He was so Luka, but he could shoot the basketball, and he had such a feel of dismantling his defender's ability to slide his feet. So similar to what you just saw. Now, Luka did it to Rudy, but this guy could do it to all types of defenders. And if it was an athlete that was maybe a little smaller than him, he would do his like reverse pivot and get the guy kind of on his back a little bit, and then spin or face him back up and attack the top foot. It was never a blow by. It was always setting him up to present the advantage he was looking for, and then he'd attack it, get around him, and then get him on his hip, and he had whatever he wanted at that point.
I love it.
So you were Coach. You were on Mike Lonergan's staff.
Yep, 2000 to 2002.
Yep. I've known Mike since he was about 12.
Yep. I will say this: Mike Lonergan was, I've been with a lot of great guys.
Mm-hmm.
He, to me, in the guys I've worked with, was such an incredible in-game anticipator of what was going on. He had this incredible sixth sense that I feel like, he could call the right play. He could sense the matchup he wanted, the advantage he saw that was just a step ahead of everybody else. And we had a great staff. I mean, Bob Wagner, the legendary Bob Wagner,
was
on staff as well. So, but Mike just had such an offensive feel for the game, calling the game, and it was incredible.
I love it.
Nah, that's great, man. I had no idea Bob was on that staff. I used to talk to Bob like pretty much every other day because he was always at Maryland women's basketball practices and games. So I would just run into him. And He's told me he remembered me from high school. Because,
You
he's
know
coached
what?
at Northwestern back then.
Yep. You know what the joke was?
What's that?
Is that Coach Wagner forgot more about basketball using the restroom today than the rest of us all will ever know.
Wow. Well,
yeah, he was tough. He was great.
One of the big things about watching this, and a lot of kids don't recognize, is the setup. I mean, even looking right here, Luka is actually looking up and he's reading and he's thinking. And one of the things, if you guys see what he's doing, you see what he's doing right there, Nysear? What's he doing?
Play it again.
Right there. What do you notice? Can you see it?
No.
He's knocking the arm down.
Oh, you're talking about the combat.
Oh, yeah. He's using his off arm. Yeah.
He's using, the number 10's trying to gain an advantage. A lot of these kids have proximity issues. So, they're banana cutting. And he's like, no, I want to go straight this way, and you're not going to push me off my line.
Right.
And so that right there sends a message. And so now, if you notice, number 10's afraid to get that close to him and touch him again. He don't want to get that hand knocked down. Again, Coach GJ, that's
wow.
Good make, bad shot.
He made that shot, and what?
Look,
I do not even remember that one.
Let's just fast forward on that one. We don't want to.
That's crazy.
All right, we'll go through one more, guys. That's a great pass there.
Oh, he's got to catch that clean. But I guess not, because he's that
need
wide
to,
open.
because nobody closed him out.
That's true. That's true. Wow.
He likes to talk to people.
He sure does, doesn't he?
Yes. But it's just interesting because he's reading the floor all right between.
Oh, he threw it through. Is that LeBron?
That's
LeBron.
That is LeBron. That's all right. When you played in the league for as long as LeBron has, these things.
You're right.
Oh, come on. He meant to do that.
Oh, wow.
All right, shoulders down.
In his body.
Oh, wow.
It's wide open.
I have one of my former clients knew his family overseas.
Mm-hmm.
And he said before Luka came into the league, he said Luka will be the best player. And
go ahead, Brandon. Sorry.
Yeah, he said that. And I said, come on, this kid is 17 years old or whatever he was at the time. He said, no, I'm telling you, this kid is different. He does things out on the floor that nobody else understands. And we're seeing it here.
The analogy I see is, and you guys hear it all the time, is this dude's playing chess, everybody else playing checkers.
100, and he's doing it in slow motion.
Yep.
Look at this.
Look at it. Look.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Guys, we'll do one more. I want to respect everybody's time. But it's just his vision here to say, okay, I'm being double teamed and to understand lines are. You have to train that. You have to train to have that type of confidence. So he's in a perimeter post now. And he splits the defense, gets his shoulders lower. He knows he's got everybody on. And look where he jumps from. In our program, Coach, you're required to jump from the first hash above the block when you're coming down the middle. And when you're coming down the sides, you have to jump outside the lane. We call it the rule of execution. And that's because number one here that's on defense probably jumps higher than Luka. But because of the fact that Luka jumped first and early, he was able to get his head above this gentleman's head and reach his athletic potential before number one gets a chance to contest the shot. And we'll find that with so many players. And if you don't develop the skill of jumping outside the lane, then as you start to move up the ranks, it becomes harder and harder because your programming is bad from your training and your development. But it looks like he knows exactly where he needed to jump to make it not a challengeable shot. And this kid doesn't make the mistake. Kyrie doesn't make the mistake either.
Mm-hmm.
I remember this. Like just the ability to know where your team is. Let's see if we can see one more dynamic play where he's under pressure. That's just not an accident. Anyway. All right. So jumping back over here, let me close this out. All right, guys. You know, we've gone over time a little bit. Coach GJ, I want to thank you so much for spending time with us today, letting the community get to know who you are. Hopefully you'll share this video with others so they'll get to know a little bit more about you, a little bit more about us. We tell everybody, you know, Coach Nysear, Coach Brad, and I, look, it doesn't cost you anything to contact us to get an opinion about what a trainer is doing and all the rest of that stuff. We're here to help. I'm not actually trying to build my training business anymore. There might be some changes that are going to happen in my career as a trainer and as a coach that will actually benefit all of us, all of the community. Brad, you already know what's going on this year, and Coach TJ will talk later. But it could be significant for all of our community to have, like, you know, what's possible from my side. But for Coach Nysear, Coach Brad, you know, they are taking on private training clients. And so, you know, they need to share with the community who they are, how they think, and how they have relationships with people like yourself so that they can help parents with the journey that they're on. And then for my kids' journey, I want to tell you thank you, because obviously you and I are getting closer and we want to strategize on my kids' success and to make sure we have an honest, open line of communication. And so today was more than a great first step in that direction. So thank you so much.
Pleasure. Thank you for the opportunity. I really am flattered by the kind words you said at the open of the show, and I can chop it up on hoops for days. So, you know, I love this stuff, and it's always great when I get to reconnect with an old friend like Brad. So, always great to see you, my man.
Well,
Great to see you as well, Coach.
anytime you want to be on the show and just hang out with us while we have other guests and stuff like that, consider yourself a part of the family. And this is what the show is all about, is helping parents to know who we are and to be able to trust this process, because a lot of them are very, very confused.
I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Coach Nysear, your final thoughts?
All I know is in one of those highlights, Luka had 70, 10, and 7. That's crazy.
What?
Yeah.
What?
He came up on the bottom. I'm like, that's a ridiculous.
Man.
Yeah. Brad,
Yeah, he's different. He's definitely different, man.
You're closing.
I don't have any comments, but it was great to reconnect with you as well, Coach Kissal.
Sure.
All right, guys. All right, we'll see
Thank you, guys.
And we'll talk to each other. And Coach CJ, whenever you want to go to lunch or late breakfast, I'm here. I'm right
Sounds
there.
great.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Yep.
All right.
Bye-bye.